we've talked about buying a villa.
Yes.
Now let's buy an apartment.
Yeah.
So an apartment is a different ball game in Spain because you've got a community of owners.
Right.
It's a different series of checks that you have to make, and what would that entail?
Okay. First of all, I check the bylaws of the community, which is the most important set of rules that we have to look at, which will tell you what you can do with your property.
Okay.
Right, and what's allowed, what's forbidden, what the private elements are, what are the communal elements of this community. We want to see the internal rules, which have to do about
statutes.
No, we call it internal rules.
Okay.
It's that, and they tell you they regulate the owner's behavior.
Okay.
Like the times to go to the swimming pool, not big things.
Yeah. Okay.
But it is also important to check it. One of the things that we want to check is whether these bylaws have been modified by AGMs.
Annual general meetings.
Annual general meetings. We also ask for minutes of these AGMs.
Okay.
To make sure that there are no changes made to the bylaws.
Okay.
Although the bylaws will be binding to the buyer of this apartment if they are known by the buyer.
Okay.
That means if they are in the land registry, for sure.
Yeah.
Or if they got to know them because the community sent a copy to the buyer.
Okay.
But if they are not aware, if the buyer ignores this, then they are not binding to the buyer.
Okay. So they're legal checks, but then there's other checks which are important. So, for example, how well run is the community?
Yes.
When did they last paint it?
Right.
When are they going to paint it?
Right.
When will the service contract for the lifts? Crazy stuff, but I mean, it's stuff which can cost you money.
That's right. I check the solvency of the community, how many bad debtors the community has.
Okay.
The extra community fees agreed, but not yet passed on payment. That will affect the buyer in the future. So if the community decided to reform the whole community in the future, this is today approved, but will be charged to the client in the future.
Yeah.
We need to check that as well. And that's right. This minute will tell you whether this is a crazy community of owners or not.
Yeah, and they do exist.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it's amazing.
Yeah. And going back to that, when you're buying an off-plan property, for example, there's no community.
Right.
So you don't know what you're buying yet in terms of how well the community is run.
Right. Off-plan purchases generally don't have bylaws in place. Yeah. But there are sometimes that they do. The community, the owner, the developer, has already drafted these bylaws. Yeah. Okay. And because he will be the sole owner of the community, they will be approved. Yeah, of course. So they could be approved by the time your client buys the property. But generally, yes, this is buying off-plan properties is totally different. Not totally different, but it has to be, the legal checks are different. Yeah.
So the last thing when you're buying in a community, which is as a result of a recent law, is that the community now can vote against holiday rentals. As I understand it, if you have a touristic license already in place to rent your property, the community cannot stop you continuing to rent the property. But if you buy a property which doesn't have a touristic license and the community has voted against future properties being able to rent to holidaymakers, then you don't have the right in the future to apply for a touristic license.
Yes, that's the case. Agreements made by the AGMs or in community meetings with 3/5 of the owners, representing 3/5 of the shares of these owners. By this type of agreement, you can ban, not limit, ban
wow.
holiday rentals.
Okay, only for those residents who do not have an existing touristic license.
Yes, but watch out, because if you have a touristic license in place, that exception of the rule applies to you. The non-retrospection,
it's not retrospective.
Exactly.
Law.
To you. But if you wanted to sell the property in the future, the buyer
doesn't inherit.
Inherit. This is not that clear. But there are some case law precedents already from our courts saying that this benefit cannot be transmitted to the buyer.
Wow.
To your future buyer.
Okay.
So you need to have that in mind as well.
Okay. So how can you clarify that? You have to go to the community?
Well, when you buy a property and you want to make sure that you want to do holiday rentals, right? So you first of all you look into the bylaws. If there is no mention made in the bylaws, then you need to look into the minutes of community meetings, check all of them, and that would be good if you get a certificate from the administrator of the community stating your findings, that there are no agreements made on this subject, or there is one agreement made. Okay, because you could get surprises, big surprises. Right.
So,
by the way, if there is an agreement banning or limiting holiday rentals that has not been registered in the land registry, that will not be enforceable against the buyer.
Okay, so the land registry is gold.
It's gold, that's right. And the community must ensure that these type of agreements are registered.
Okay.